I'm afraid I missed the chance of producing those lovely pictures. I thought perhaps to begin with what Ian just said, that we have to assess the real risks with brutal honesty. That reminds me of Al Gore's wonderful book and film, which was called An Inconvenient Truth. I was living in California at the time when he published that, including the film. And then a cartoonist there made a cartoon showing a cinema with two films. One was Al Gore's An Inconvenient Truth, and the other was A Reassuring Lie. And then where were people going? Well, all of them, 100% went to A Reassuring Lie. They don't like to hear the truth. That is the political reality, which makes it so extremely difficult following the recommendation by Ian Dunlop. I've been member of parliament in Germany for a while and know that it is extremely unpopular to talk about the truth. This is the major problem, I understand. What can we do? Well, one part of the truth is that over the last century or so, we saw the increase of gross domestic product per capita rising. And more recently, people discovered that the exactly same rise is per capita emissions of carbon dioxide or other greenhouse gases. Meaning that the goal of all governments of the world, I don't know any exception, is the rise of GDP per capita. Meaning, seemingly, they want an increase of carbon dioxide and other greenhouse gas emissions. This is what they call realpolitik. That's realistic, because this is what the electorates want. What can we then do? Well, of course, as Ian and others have said, we have to talk about the truth and show the disasters looming if we just do business as usual. That is very important. We have to do it. And the group of scientists assembled here, including from India, have done already a very good job. But in addition to that, we also have to design roads, avenues of policy making. First, decoupling that carbon dioxide emissions from GDP per person. This is technology essentially, and politics. It is possible, as has been said. And second, establish an international regime that makes it profitable, in particular in developing countries, to reduce emissions and work on carbon capture and carbon capture. Presently, as you all know, the discussion in the annual or nearly annual meetings of the members of the Climate Convention is that the North makes a lot of rhetoric of what we have to do. And if then the G77 is asked, and what are you doing? They tend to say, well, this is not our business. You have done all the damage, so you have to do it. And you have made a commitment of giving us, in the developing countries, $100 billion a year for us to adapt, essentially, to the damage you have been doing. This is simply not going to fulfill all the things that Johan Rockström and Ian Dunlap and others have been saying. So this diplomacy on climate doesn't lead us anywhere, it seems. What then? I don't know if I have an answer, but at least there is one proposal which I like. A couple of months before the Copenhagen Conference of the Parties of the Climate Convention in Copenhagen in 2009, the German Council for Global Environmental Change proposed the so-called budget approach, which essentially says that all countries of the world have an identical right, license, permit to pollute the atmosphere. And the limit is given at the time by the 2 degrees limit. Okay. But the old industrialized countries have already more or less eaten up their permits. So they would have to go to countries like India and ask for remaining permits and pay a high price for that. Then, for the first time in history, for the Minister of Economic Affairs in India, it would be very, very recommendable to reduce greenhouse gas emissions in India and sell the thereby available additional permits to the north. Currently, in a country like India, or take Paraguay or Cameroon or whatever, an additional coal power plant is more or less tantamount to printing money. It is simply profitable to do the wrong thing. And the policy challenge is to change that into a situation where you get richer when you do the right thing and not the wrong thing. That, however, has to be worked out, specified. And I believe this budget approach comes close to what we have to do. There may be additional technological breakthroughs. I mean, friends of mine and I have been writing books like Factor 4 and Factor 5 in which we show that a 5-fold increase of energy productivity is technically available. But the beginning would be costly. So people don't do it. People want to do things, the positive economic results will come in something like a year or 2 years or so, not in 15 years. This is a challenge for some kind of a new enlightenment. The old enlightenment was utilitarian, pragmatic, mechanistic, materialistic, individualistic, and all that. So the old enlightenment was not good enough to solve the problems we have been addressing today. We need a new kind of enlightenment. At the time when I was co-president together with Anders Wijkman from Sweden of the Club of Rome, we wrote a book with the title Come On. Come On, as you know, has 2 different meanings in the English language. and it's 3 chapters. The first chapter is, come on, don't tell me the current trends are sustainable. They are not. The second chapter is, come on, don't stick to outdated philosophies. And the third part then is, come on, join us on an exciting journey towards a sustainable world. And that is essentially the topic about which I have been now speaking for a minute or two. But the first 2 parts also are important, including some kind of new enlightenment. Interestingly, for that chapter, we are beginning with the encyclical by Pope Francis, Laudato Si, in which he shows that the current hasty, competitive, greedy kind of economic situation and individual families situation is the most destructive kind of philosophy that is governing the world. So even the Pope means that we need a new kind of enlightenment. I'm not saying I can now tell you the details of it. That would cost another half hour, so I stop here.
Thank you.